Hey everyone, welcome to this episode of Fit Fueled Female. Before we get started, I know you all are wondering, where is Kristen recording from today? Well, I am currently hiding in my guest room. I lied and told my children I was going to the store so they wouldn't find me, but I can't promise that that will last very long. But that's life and that's where I am. So last week we talked about friendship, the kind that holds you up when life feels heavy. We talked about showing up even when it's hard and how your past, it doesn't have to define your future. This week, we're keeping it real and true Fit Fueled Female style, but we're going to lighten it up a bit because part of being fit and fueled is knowing when to push and when to pause. So we're going to dive into one of my favorite topics, moderation. It's something I get asked about all the time, how to find it, how to stick to it, and how to stop swinging between extremes. So let's break it down with a little story from last weekend. The weekend my friend was in town. I worked out 5 days that week, which is normal for me. My weeks always include 5-day workouts, but the days and times sometimes change. As much as I try to stick to my picture perfect schedule, when I'm traveling or if I have another commitment with my kids' school or work, I have to carve or wedge them in wherever I can based on life. So one day that week, I took a 9:30 a.m. workout class. Not my usual 6 a.m. grind, but I did it because I wanted to work out with my husband. We love doing that together when we can, and it was both of our days off. So first of all, I wasn't going to get up at 5 a.m. to take my 6 a.m. class. But I also wanted to make space for us, not just the workout. And that's the kind of flexibility I'm talking about. That week, I stacked all my 5 workouts in a row, not to prove anything, but because I knew I wanted to chill that weekend. I knew I'd be leaning into some indulgence, and I wanted to go into it feeling strong and not guilty. So Saturday night rolls along, and dinner? Haven't we all had those nights where all we want is a cheese board? Well, that was my Saturday. A lovely cheese board with a glass of wine. I mean, still had protein, right? But that's what we were in the mood for. No cooking, just a cozy night in was exactly what we wanted. Then came Sunday, and here's where it really gets good. I made myself a very healthy sandwich, toasted bread, carved turkey, mustard, apple slices. I was trying to do the right thing. But then I looked at it, and I looked at the hot dog I made my kids, and I just said, nope. I tossed the sandwich, kept the apples, of course, and went for what I actually wanted: a hot dog, a Coca-Cola, and potato chips. But here's the part I want to highlight. Even in my indulgence, I was still conscious. I didn't grab random junk. I picked brands and portions that worked for my body. The hot dog was an organic Applegate hot dog. The Coke was a mini Coke, and the chips were cooked in avocado oil because, well, my gut has standards. It was indulgent, yes, but it was intentional. And I enjoyed every single bite. No spiraling, no guilt, no need to make up for it. And that's what I want to talk about today. Because you can move your body with intention and fuel it with purpose and still say yes to the things that make you feel human. You can be consistent without being overly obsessive, and you can make room for flexibility and for connection, for cravings, for joy. And you can still feel like you're winning while doing it. So if you've ever meal prepped your way into a meltdown or stared longingly at the chips while eating the sad kale salad, or saw everyone celebrating over cake and you're trying to wonder whether or not you should, or made a healthy choice only to realize you're not satisfied at all, this episode's for you. I want to talk about what real balance looks like and why guilt has zero place at your table. Now listen, I'm not saying I've thrown discipline out the window. This girl still loves a solid plan, and I still show up for my workouts and my clean, healthy eating. But I've learned that how I show up matters just as much as how often. And that weekend, that hot dog, that cheese board, that wine, it didn't derail me. If anything, it reminded me of something I've come to believe deeply. And that's this. Lesson number 1. You can be healthy and still indulge. Somewhere along the way, we were taught that health and indulgence can't coexist. That if you want to be fit, you have to eat boring. That if you want results, you have to say no to everything fun. But that's not real life, y'all, and it's definitely not sustainable. My mom always used to say, everything in moderation, Kristen. And she didn't just say it, she lived it. Every single night, she made herself an ice cream sundae. like it was a ritual. Whipped cream, chocolate sauce, all the toppings. The woman did not mess around. And when I'd roll my eyes or pass on dessert, she'd just look at me and say, Kristen, you're missing out. While she and my brother went to town. And now my whole family is living proof that her legacy is alive and well. My kids, no lie, call dessert sugar, as in, can I have sugar after this? Dinner plates haven't even hit the table and they're already planning their Sunday toppings. And my husband, the dishes aren't even cleared and I hear the blender going. He's in full Oreo cookie shake mode before I've even finished chewing. I swear my mom is looking down at me, laughing like, you really thought you'd escape those Sundays, huh? But here's the thing. Indulgence doesn't mean failure. It means freedom. It means presence. And it means building little rituals that feel joyful and satisfying, not shameful. You can take care of your body and enjoy dessert. You can fuel your goals and sprinkle in chocolate chips. You can be strong, consistent, and health-minded without being so rigid that you lose the joy. Y'all, every night I have 5 dark chocolate almonds or a couple of dark chocolate pretzels. That's what real wellness looks like. Not punishment, not restriction, but trusting yourself enough to live in that space between structure and softness. For me, that looks like 5 workouts a week, sometimes stacked, sometimes split, and to be honest, sometimes only 4. It looks like green smoothies and mocktail mules, but also not forgetting that glass of wine. It looks like being thoughtful with the choices I make, not perfect. Because perfection, that's where burnout lives, but presence, that's where the magic is. You don't need to earn your food, you don't need to explain your cravings, and you definitely don't need to trade joy for discipline. You can have both, and if you asked my mom, she would have said, you should. But here's the truth behind that confidence. I didn't always believe it. I didn't always live this way. Because there was a time I didn't know what balance looked like. And I had to learn it the hard way. Which leads me to lesson number 2. Fall off, but don't stay off. So we're going to get real for a minute. I haven't always had this mindset, and I haven't always had balance or boundaries or this ability to eat the hot dog and move on. I've fallen off the wagon before, hard, but because I've been there, I know how to spot it. I know what it feels like to swing too far in either direction, and I never let myself stay in that place anymore. Let me take you back for a second. Sophomore year of college. I had made it through freshman year without gaining the freshman 15. I was so proud of myself. Well, then a year later, I studied abroad in Spain, and let's just say it got real. Tortilla sandwiches on the daily, €1 bottles of wine like water. I also discovered Nutella, and yeah, I was in love. And y'all, my aunt came to visit, and we ate 3 ice cream cones in one day because we thought it was funny. Oh, and don't forget the care packages from my mom with Tostitos and queso dip, because when you're homesick, you go all in. I was walking everywhere, so it wasn't a sedentary lifestyle, but it was indulgence without intention. I think I gained like 15 to 20 pounds that semester, and let's just say I came home looking a lot fuller than I had left. I can laugh about it now, but at the time, it definitely threw me off, and it was uncharted waters for me. When I got home, I saw the welcome back photos, and I was like, oh my God, what happened to me? Those pictures, by the way, are locked in a vault, never to be seen again. This was also the first time I learned the word diet, and I went hard the other way. I got super skinny. And let me just say this, dieting, it's not the answer. I've tried the food rules, the apps, the obsession, and all it did was disconnect me from what my body actually needed. Because when you're so focused on controlling what goes in, you stop listening to what's going on inside. What's helped me most? Ditching the diet mindset altogether. Eating in a way that fuels me, not fixes me. Choosing balance over restriction, joy over judgment, and learning to trust myself again. Back then, when I had come home, I became restrictive, obsessed, trying to undo what I had done, and honestly, not in the healthiest way. But that experience taught me something I've never forgotten. Swinging between extremes, it just doesn't work. It leaves you exhausted, disconnected, and constantly trying to fix yourself instead of understanding yourself. But here's the thing, that wasn't the only time I've lost my rhythm. Because when I'm really stressed, I don't overeat, I undereat, I shut down. I don't avoid food because I have a bad relationship with it. I avoid food because my body is so overwhelmed, it literally forgets how to function. I'm too anxious to be hungry, too wired to sit down. And let me tell you, it is not a fun place to be. But we all go through this in some way, right? Maybe your version looks a little different. Maybe you turn to food or numb out with TV or shut down in other ways. But that feeling of losing yourself in a season, it's universal. But here's what I've come to realize. I may not be able to control how stress hits me in the moment, but I can control how I respond once I feel it. I can notice the signs sooner. I can show myself grace when I don't feel like eating or working out. I can pivot. I don't have to stay stuck anymore. I've learned how to come back, not in a blaze of punishment and restriction, but in quiet, steady intention. I don't shame myself. I don't spiral. I just get back into rhythm. And that's the win. It's not about never falling off, but it's about never staying off. That's how you build real lasting balance. And here's a real life example that happened just this past week. Even though I hit my 5 workouts that week, stacked, intentional, done, I still felt that little whisper of guilt creep in over the weekend. Like, shouldn't I be moving today? And isn't that wild, right? 5 solid workouts, and I still felt that pressure. But I didn't give in. I knew I needed a rest. And more importantly, I just needed some joy. So when my family went out for an outdoor adventure, I made a decision I wouldn't have made maybe a few years ago. Normally I'd say, I'll go for a run while you bike ride, or I'll speed walk while you guys scooter, and I'd try to turn it into a workout. But this time, I said no. I grabbed the scooter too. By the way, super fun. And I was the fun mom, the one on the sidewalk in full ride or die mode, not tracking calories, just laughing in the sun with my kids. It was vitamin D, it was movement, and it was pure joy. Were there meltdowns? Yeah. I mean, we've got a 4 and a 6-year-old, so can you really go on a family walk without someone dramatically collapsing halfway through, or a quarter of the way in, or 30 seconds of the way in? Anyway, it still fueled my soul, not because it was hard, but because it reminded me that wellness isn't always about doing more. It's about choosing what matters most in that moment. And that moment to me, it was everything. It mattered. It wasn't punishment, it wasn't perfection, it was presence, and that's what I want more of. So if you need a sign to give yourself the same permission, here it is. Which leads me to my power move. This week, moderation. Live your life. So go have that thing you've been craving. The hot dog, the ice cream sundae, the chips, the sugar, whatever that looks like for you. And do it without guilt. And don't do it as a cheat meal, not as a secret, but as a conscious, joy-filled choice. Because moderation isn't weak, it's wise. It's the key to consistency, I think. And it's what makes wellness livable. So eat that thing, love that thing, and then move on with your strong, beautiful, fit-fueled self. Bonus challenge? Message me when you do. I would love to know what your hot dog moment is. Let's normalize choosing joy on purpose, because that's what real wellness looks like. A body that's cared for, a mind that's calm, and a life that leaves room for whipped cream. All right. Let's wrap this up with what's been fueling me lately. HelloFresh. I am obsessed, not just because it's easy, which it is, or because it saves me from the nightly what's for dinner panic spiral, which is so true, but because it supports the way I actually want to live and eat. Moderation, simplicity, and balance. The portions are realistic, like actual portion control without me having to measure the chicken or the carbs. The meals are healthy, but they're absolutely not boring, and they vary week to week. They give me the variety without me having to scroll Pinterest or Facebook at 9 p.m. on a Sunday with decision fatigue. It's flexible, it's fun, it fits my rhythm and my life. And okay, do my kids eat it? Sometimes. Let's just say the cornbread and the tortellini are the real MVPs for them. The rest? We're still working on that. But for me, it's been such a game changer, fueling my body, keeping things simple, and making weeknights feel a little more put together. Oh, and also getting my husband to cook and follow a recipe. Win! All right, friends, that's it for today's episode. I hope this gives you permission to breathe, to laugh, and to live in the in-between. You don't have to be perfect. You just have to be present, and you just have to be you. Whether you're in a hot dog era, a HelloFresh era, or a scooter in the sun with a meltdown kind of season, you're doing great. And if no one's told you this today, you're allowed to enjoy your life while taking care of yourself. That's the real flex. If this episode hit home, please send it to a friend, share your hot dog moment with me in the DMs, or just hit play again when the guilt tries to sneak back in. So that's a wrap. And until next time, stay fit, stay fueled, and I can't wait to see you next time.